All right, we're live.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming to our happy hour huddle. I'm excited. We've
Thanks.
really had some great guests, friends who are partners, partners who are friends, friends, partners who are like family. It's going to be like that every week because we've got a lot of really smart, interesting, fun, cool positions. This week is no different. Before I introduce him, let's quickly meet tonight's team from Mean Joe Advertising. Anthony Taylor, Bradley Simon, and of course, DJ Renob, Mike Bloomstein.
What's up?
All right. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest. He and I first met a little over 12 years ago at the 40th birthday party of a then mutual friend. I consider him, among other things, a partner, confidant, consultant, carpool partner from playoff and championship games, barbecue eating buddy, and more. Also, my daughter Dylan and his older daughter Ellie have been known to pen silly, inappropriate, borderline dirty songs together. Sam Pines is a Chicago native who played goalie at Lehigh University and is now vice president, partner, and thought leader at Good Karma Brands, from now on known as GKB for the next hour. A best in practice media and marketing company that, among a number of different businesses, partners with ESPN as both a radio affiliate and digital advertising liaison. Sam manages the ESPN 850 WKNR team here in Cleveland and is a board member of a number of incredible local organizations, including but not limited to the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and Autism Speaks. Welcome, Sam.
Woo!
Thanks. Excited to be here, Todd, and the rest of the team. I echo a lot of the sentiments that you said about me, crew that I'm looking at right here.
Nice.
Your beard and whatever's going on top.
All right. So before we get started, I want to thank everybody that took time to submit questions. If you are watching now and you have below, we will answer them as we see them. Also, say hi in the chat so we know who's here, and we'll say hi back. And as we do, let's see what everybody is drinking. And how about this week? We'll start with Bradley.
I'm going with.
Okay.
Weak.
All right. How about Anthony?
Good old Evan Williams white label bottle of Bond.
Nice. Mike?
So tea smoothie out of,
Awesome.
we got to do it, the 2016 year. Great
There
year.
you
go.
Great
Is that the
year.
one you went to?
The 2016, I think it was 2015 or 14 I went to. And then we went to 2018.
Got it.
All right. Sam?
Sorry.
Mystery drink.
Nice.
Iced tea.
I have the pilfered Knob Creek from Anthony's drawer here in the Crazy Mama's Rocks class. So good to see everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay. Let's get it going here. Sam, I'm going to start off with an easy one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how angry are you that you have to do this after we already shot like an hour and a half video talking about basically the same thing like 8 months ago?
I'm honored that I didn't ruin the opportunity by my answers. Whenever was that All-Star weekend? No.
No.
That was back when we could do things in person.
I know
Yeah.
I had shorts on, so
Long
it's a
time
long
ago.
time ago.
Yeah, it was definitely summer. I
Yeah.
remember it being hot.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. We'll
All
see
right,
how
good.
much my answers have changed.
Well, there's different questions. But this one is definitely similar, but I think it's a good just way to get us kicked off here. Give us the elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, about GKB and or ESPN 850 WKNR.
So really, nothing's changed since we met back then. No. The quick elevator pitch is, and you said a lot of it, but we're a best in class local operator of world class brands, and so what that means is, someone's calling me at that point. What that means, I obviously didn't stop that. So what that means is obviously ESPN is one of those world-class brands where they've given us the opportunity, because they do look at us as best in class, to do things that they haven't allowed anyone else to do, and others aren't able to.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a couple other brands in addition to that. We have some news talk brands in Wisconsin, WBEV and WTMJ, that are really like win awards and are, you know, world-class local news operations. And then and we own some Verizon stores and a home furnishings and designs business, obviously. So
Nice.
that's the but all of them are looked at in that world-class level, but operated on a local level.
Mm-hmm. Good. And that's why the company is called Good Karma Brands, because there are a number of different businesses. It's not just broadcasting.
Correct. If you knew us starting 20 years ago, there were many years where our emails changed from, I think it was GKB Radio to GKB Sports to finally Good Karma Brands.
Nice. All right. So our topic today is culture. So before we get into it, I think that's kind of important for people to understand. And quite honestly, this could be inspirational to anyone who's younger, possibly, and watching, listening, who has a group of friends who have talked about the dream of starting a business together. But if you would, just give us a little quick story about how everyone knows each other and how this came about with GKB.
Yeah, so Craig Karmazin, his senior year in college, took a class where it was, you know, it was a launching a business class, and Craig's dad is a famous person in the industry, Mel Karmazin. Anyone who's followed the industry or Howard Stern has heard his name. So Craig builds a business plan, which involves buying radio stations, visits some friends in Madison, Wisconsin, and decides that's where he wants to buy the radio stations. So in 1997, he buys the radio stations after he graduates. I was graduating Lehigh University that year with Craig's best friend growing up, Steve Politziner. And instead of starting this company in Madison right away, Craig came with Steve and I cross country in an RV, the three of us, and Craig's new puppy, Maddie, named after Madison, Wisconsin. So we hopped in an RV that we were only able to rent because Craig had an Amex card for starting a business, because you can't rent if you're under 25, at least in those days, an RV. And traveled across country, got to know each other. Craig launches that business, launches Good Karma in Wisconsin with 3 radio stations, 2 in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, a town of 16,000 people now, and then 1 that covered about 30% of Madison, and Madison, Wisconsin, sorry. And then over the next few years, he convinces 5 of us, Steve, myself, and then 3 others, to join him as partners and be radio salespeople. We called them salespeople or account executives then. I'm sure we'll get into all that. That was really where we learned. We lived in 2 different apartments, so the 6 of us were split between 2 apartments. And that Beaver Dam group was really who we learned from. We learned how to do things from them, and you talked about culture. It was really learning how we did things in Beaver Dam, and just really being about 3 groups of people: our fans, our advertising partners, and our teammates.
Awesome.
So I give you some of the lingo.
So, Mike, you have the next question?
I feel like we should lead in because, talking about, all right, what this new lingo is. We hear partners, campaigns, investments, teammates. I know this because I was a former teammate, but can you explain like where these words came from and why you don't use client, don't use,
Yeah, I mean, so when we started, we used all those terms. All the terms you're talking about, we used. It wasn't like we said, all right, we're going to call them fans, partners, teammates. We're going to call it investment, not advertising spend. And then it was more how we were operating, to how we were, what we acquired in Beaver Dam and how they and we did things there, as, doing what's right for your advertising partners, doing what's right for your teammates, and doing what's right for your fans. And we were lucky enough not to be living month to month from a standpoint of, we didn't have anyone saying, if you don't hit this number. So it allowed us to make mistakes, but also, Mike hit a lot of them, and Mike was a former teammate, and we're still willing to talk to him. No, I'm kidding. Mike was a very valuable teammate. And so, it is an investment. We do look at when our advertising partners invest with us as an investment. And then, the fans, partners, teammate, that's how I want to treat it. We're lucky to have fans. We're lucky that they, did I freeze or was that someone else?
You're good.
You're good.
Okay. So, it is it is an investment. It's not a spend. Like we want you to no differently than if we were a financial advisor. So those words really came about as the years went on. Our what you most would call AEs or salespeople, we do call marketing consultants because we want our sales teammates who are out there consulting. If the right move isn't to be with us and partner with us, we want them talking through it and looking at the big picture. Obviously, we hope our solutions are the right ones for them. I mean, I guess solutions is another one. Every time I say one or not.
It'll be a fun game.
I'm counting them in my head.
Okay, good. But that is, so it really all over time has happened.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. So I didn't think that you guys sat down and kind of wrote them down and said, all right, this is how we're going to do it. I figured that it kind of evolved, but were there early conversations about this was Craig's baby, but you guys were all kind of on board as part of the team, where you guys were just young guys sitting around the apartment, carry out, whatever, maybe some adult beverages and drawing out, this is the kind of way we want people to think about us. This is the way we want the people who work there to feel about it. Were you developing a culture, or did it, you talked about the people at Beaver Dam and you refer to them as they. Was there a group that existed there already that they were operating kind of similar to that, and you guys just built off of it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was really, a lot of Craig's vision. Just, the reason Craig created a company like our, not our mission statement, but the reason we were created was so that every teammate has a voice. Right. So everyone has a voice, and that's where it starts. Is if everyone has a voice, then you can learn from each other. And so the team in Beaver Dam was operating really successfully, and in a really, in a market the size of Beaver Dam, and we did learn a lot from them. I'd love to say everything was planned out. We're like, all right, so in 2003 we're going to West Palm. Obviously, in 2004, we're going to go to Milwaukee. We're going to be ESPN's best-in-class operator. It was really just we were in it. We were definitely more in the business than on the business, right. as the saying goes.
And so a lot of it, the culture evolved. You saw how things were. You decided we want to change this. How can we change it? And then there'd be a brainstorm about how to change it or something like that.
Yes, exactly. And then we also we've been lucky enough to have great teammates who do speak up and do say things and do give us ideas. Even changing the email comes from teammates who joined saying, "Wait, how can you be GKB Radio when we were just sports marketing? Shouldn't we be GKB Sports?" And then somebody else saying, "Wait, we have more brands now." It's even those types of things. I think it's ingrained in the culture to speak up. So we're learning from our teammates and the original teammates in Beaver Dam. Start is where it started.
And so, if there's somebody who's watching right now that's a business owner or kind of in charge of a business in some role, and they're hearing this and they're like, "Man, I wish, we had more of a culture." And there's a lot of people, there are even sports fans who probably recognize that the team that wins the World Series sometime is the one where everybody was closest. They weren't even the best team during the season, and all of a sudden that starts to come through, and they recognize it there, but they haven't transferred it to business. Anything that you would say hey, here are a couple things that you and your leadership team, or if it's just a one person kind of organization as far as leadership, here are some that you could do.
Yeah, I think the one that I jumps out to me, and there's a lot of them, but is transparency. I think we're in a world that like we expect transparency, and it allows you to get out in front of things. And so um I think the Rahm Emanuel quote that has been getting overused probably recently, but never let a serious crisis go to waste, or what, and so if you think of what's going on now, and within a culture, it is an opportunity to build even a better, more cohesive culture. I mean, even or pick your statement that's in every ad in April and May. But if you have transparency and honesty and the ability for everyone to speak up, I think that's what can build the culture. As leaders, that's really hard. I think it's because you have to listen and not be ready to say, um, you're calling me an idiot, which they're not. Generally speaking, they're not calling you an idiot, but like you feel like it is because it's your idea, right? So in whatever way it is, as a leader, what's ever happening was because you decided something along the way and was going to cause it to happen. So you have to be prepared for what you might hear is you're an idiot. Um, and no one's ever said that directly. That's only what I hear, I think, at least not to me. So that's part of it. And if you have that, then you can build everything else around it, and decide what to do, and look for opportunities. You mentioned sports. Um, some of the great sports stories are always what look like they're going to be the worst, right? Like the Patriots lose their quarterback. And was that 20 years ago or whatever it was? Drew Bledsoe was like a great a pretty good quarterback. And Belichick has a famous culture where be ready, and the next guy was ready, and he seemed to do a good job for 20 years or so. And and so you see that everywhere, but if you have transparency, honesty, and the ability to speak, I think you can take advantage of opportunities like I guess what Rahm Emanuel is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's just to kind of add on to that, being a former teammate. It's crazy to go to a different city, a different state, and walk into an office and feel like, yeah, these are my coworkers. Like we're buddy buddy. Everybody gets along. They're super nice. Or even having someone from West Palm come up to the Cleveland office and just fit right in. I mean, it's definitely impressive what GKB did, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome to hear. I think it's always good to hear that. I do think the other thing, and I always pronounce his name wrong, but Patrick Lencioni is an author and now a podcast that I listen to. He's big on having conflict and being able to have conflict, and I think that's
Yeah.
part of transparency. Is you need you need to be able to have healthy conflict, and it's something we always work on. But that's the other thing I would throw out there. And you going back to sports, you see that in locker rooms. Like there's sometimes some of the best teams have healthy-ish conflict. We'll call it.
So Sam, when you
Yeah,
bring
go
on a new team member to the Good Karma Brands company, what do you do? How do you get them to buy in and become acclimated to that culture that Mike was just talking about and what we've been hearing?
A lot of drugs. No, I'm joking. That's not
Work for me.
Yeah. So that's evolved over the years to where we have a whole onboarding process now, and it is our team has built out a whole training onboarding process, which I think and Mike, when did you start? 7 years ago?
End of 2014.
Okay, sounds close. That's pretty good.
I'm doing so yeah, that looks
Yeah.
good.
So even Bradley, even since that time, we've built structure around it because I think one thing as a small company you have lack of structure, or we had lack. I don't know if everyone does, but we had a lot of lack of structure, and it was just we'll do this, and we'll teach you, and we'll kind of talk it through. It's part the structure, but then not just saying the words, but living them, and actually, what Mike talked about is awesome to hear. Like I want, that's what we want people to feel like when they go into another office or see another GKB teammate. It's it's that automatic bond, and I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, and I will say, the teammates. This is just me being interviewed now. The teammates hold. Yeah, the teammates hold each other accountable too. So I mean, I remember being called out for maybe not, like doing some of the core values, and it is not just coming from management. Everybody's more comfortable enough to bring it up to each other.
And so the core values are another one of those things that Craig never wrote down. It was never something that like, I'm going to have a company and our core values are going to be honesty, work hard, follow through, over delivery, and listening. And, but it was just as we were functioning, we started to realize that these are the non-negotiables, right? And none of them sound crazy. But it goes back to like, everyone has to live it, and everyone has to feel comfortable enough to say, Mike, like you're coming in at noon again. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't
happen. Midday Mike.
Midday Mike. 4:30. See you guys later.
Yeah. Definitely not true, Mike.
I'll throw out something that one of your on-air hosts, one of your teammates says all the time. No names, please. But have there been teammates who were not, true teammates, who weren't living the core values, who weren't walking the walk, with as far as being a teammate, having partners, investments, who were not a good fit?
Yeah, and what I think we've gotten better at over time is getting away from that sooner, right? Like, because hiring's tough. Like, there's only so much you can learn. But and I think the teammate who's not a good fit, is because of core values. So the thing about our culture is, I would say our core values are non-negotiable, but our culture should grow with every new teammate, right? So the culture is flexible. The culture should keep growing, and but it really, what you're describing as a core value issue, or you said core value issue.
Yeah.
And that, that's gonna, as soon as that comes up, you hopefully you're in a position where you can, it's not negotiable, but
right.
It's time to separate.
Yep. A lot of these questions sound like we're interviewing you to learn more about GKB, but I think the idea, and hopefully people are getting this, is like how to apply this to what they're doing. So anybody who's in charge of this at their business, I think they can take that information and kind of apply it. So.
And also, if you have any suggestions, because I, as I said, hiring's not, it's hard from trying to figure out, like, I mean, you still haven't figured out Mike. I don't know why I'm picking out Mike, but he's on the interview.
That's part of the. It must be part of the culture, because Patty did this too. So. Pick on former teammate. Teammate to teammate crime. Anthony, I think the next question I didn't put your initials next to, but it's supposed to be.
So the idea, Sam, I think it's kind of interesting that, it's not like your background is, correct me if I'm wrong, you came from an accounting background. There's obviously accounting and running a business, but you do so many other things, and you have teammates that we know from our relationship that have experience in pageants or, doing 7 different things. How do you help get people to leverage to be best parts of the team?
Yeah, and let's at least say Bridget Linton's name if we say pageants, because we know her goal is to be famous. So I don't want to leave her out. And just for
All
everyone,
endorsements here are paid, Sam. We do no free endorsements on this webinar.
He just shot up. Someone needs me.
In post, can you do a pop-up?
Yeah.
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 So, and that really comes down to finding the teammates and have the core values. And if they have the core values, then we can, everything else can work. So I'd rather have someone, and you mentioned that my background's not necessarily, sales and marketing and, wherever else that we go into. But it really is like those are all learned things. And the book Good to Great, which gets quoted a ton, right? Like if you have the right people on the bus, you can find seats for them. I would say as we've grown, as we've learned, and we have some good mentors now on the team, that have taught us like you do need to fill some of the seats on the bus with technical expertise, and you can find people with the right core values to sit in those seats, and that's what we never did. I mean, we were in our youth, I guess, if we're like in college right now. In our youth, we just tried to find the perfect person and then worry about what they were going to do, right? And now we're trying to find the perfect teammate for that role, and it's helped a lot. It's in Cleveland as an example, we like a lot of leadership roles were always split between things, and we have a director of marketing, we have a director of content, and it truly is their main roles. We have a general sales manager, and it is their main roles, which it hadn't even as recently as Mike was with us, that didn't exist.
Have you not come up with a better name for general sales manager yet?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm open to suggestions.
General investment teammate.
Sam, not that many businesses have this as an issue of growing to be too big, and but I find it interesting that that in working with GKB, you guys do really well. Is no solution is out of your grasp. I mean, you guys go above and beyond, and part of that goes back to the core values. But for a company that started as a couple buddies in one market, now you guys are up to 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. 5, 6, give or take.
It depends what you count, for sure.
I mean, what have you done to keep the business hungry, to keep the people hungry, to continue to grow and expand?
So, right. And are you saying kind of growing and staying small? Is that
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You guys continue to grow, but it is that, like,
right.
There's very few radio stations where people are going to know the VP of the station, and they're going to have Sam Pines' number to be able to text. It's going to be
right. Yeah, that makes me sound a lot more real than I think I am, but I appreciate that. We do a lot of things, and just because I can't think prior to March this year, it's hard to remember what used to go on before March. We've done, so I think about the things we've done during this time, and our team, I do think, is a lot closer, both in multiple offices with each other, but also within the team. And we've done a lot of happy hours and group workouts on Zoom, and a ton of communication. There's more company calls than I've ever thought of, but also fun ones. Like in Cleveland, as an example, we watched Draft Day on, I think it was either Zoom or Teams app. Those who don't know, but Tony Rizzo and Aaron Goldhammer were in it, so they're popping in and talking about it, and so it's those types of things. And to Mike's points, like there were probably 4 or 5 out of market teammates that knew it was going on and jumped on. And we've just recently stopped the happy hours because people are actually like in person now. But it's been that has been, if I can point to something with some recency, it's just that communication with each other. And then uh, we do travel around to other offices. So we try and keep that going. We have some programs internally, like a Big Brother, Big Sisters type program, or Big Little, and we just try and pair the right teammates to keep us small as we grow.
So you answered the question a little bit before it was even asked, but we can't avoid time stamping some of these because we have to ask everybody about how are we doing business during a global pandemic, and you gave us some insight into that. Just quickly, not like financials and all that, but how has business been? How have your partners been doing? Are your fans entertained? Are your teammates getting along well?
Yeah. Obviously, we won't share financials. Just up 25%. No. So we've done a bunch of things, and I'll talk through a few just to give, I guess, some examples of the never let a serious crisis go to waste. And the first is, so we didn't lay anyone off, we didn't furlough anyone, which our whole, so we've had a mantra throughout this, which has been stay healthy, stay together, survive today, and thrive tomorrow. And as part of that and keeping the team together, we did what we called the GPP, the Good Karma Productivity Project, which was, there were teammates who weren't going to be that busy. We do a lot of events, we do a lot of different things. We had, our wireless stores were not open for some of this. So they, those teammates were able to do a lot of projects that were always being put off, or we just hadn't gotten around to. So that was one thing we did on the teammate side. On the fan side, being in a lot of the sports content business was really interesting. First, our content teammates have been like amazing throughout this. It's really it's not even believable how good they've been. And the example I can give, we did 64 host tournament of all the hosts on KNR over the years. So KNR has been around for probably 25 years, and we figured out 64 hosts. We put them against each other as a normal bracket. We had Jim Nance recording some stuff. We had Mel Kiper breaking down things. But our content teammates bought it. There was controversy. There was upsets. I mean, it was awesome. And so the fans were so engaged. And I think often sports radio and talk radio is to pull you out of whatever world we all get sucked into. And to do that during what was going on was awesome. And it was just a cool time where our team went all in on something, and the fans, the fans were rewarded and engaged. And then the third part is the advertising partners. And I think, as you guys have seen with your different ones, it's a little all over the board, right? It was March and April were scary for a lot of businesses. May better than April. June is going to be better than May. July, where you climb back and to where you're doing real things. Hopefully by July, and I think we will be. It's coming up. Anthony, you said it, but like being resourceful and leveraging our team. We're doing a promotion with. Actually, it started in Chicago, and now we're bringing it to Cleveland with Key Bank, where we're going to be giving away a advertising campaign. to a small business. So now our founders or business decision makers can raise their hand and say, hey, we want to advertise, and we're going to give away that advertising campaign. And instead of it being a $5,000 or $10,000 advertising campaign, it's going to be a $30,000 advertising partnership, where we know, and you guys do this as well as anyone with our so now we're out there, and we can, with Key Bank, who's helping us do this, obviously, go to the market and help a business. So, I don't know if that answered all the questions, but I felt like that answered.
It absolutely did.
That's pretty
It
awesome.
did.
Sam, there's tons of videos on YouTube of successful business people, and I'll go as far as to call you successful and beyond. But they talk about their regiment in the day, and I'm always impressed. And it's a bit of folklore of when you start sending emails in a day. So if you could run through, I mean, from somebody who's successful in the business and does a lot of different things, how does Sam's day start? What happens in between, and how does that?
Yeah, first, thanks for calling me successful. I appreciate that. And if my mom and dad are listening, they'll be proud of me. So I think that's great. If Craig is listening,
your dad did register. Yeah,
good. If Craig's listening, he'll debate you on that. So like, it's good to have the different sides. So my day, which does get brought up a lot. So I wake up early, a little before 4. And then it's generally been, then I would go to the gym or work out here. And if I work out here, I start emails right away because I don't have kind of the drive to wake up. Then after I work out, I do my hair. It takes a while to dry. And I head to in pre-March, I would then head down to the office or to my first meeting. I like to be home, and I don't know if Deborah's on or listening. I like to be home pretty much around 5 or 6, and it doesn't always happen. But that's the day, and during the day is a mix of teammates and advertising partners, meetings, with probably a little networking thrown in. So that really tends to be the regiment. I think some of my my email prowess over the years may have been overrated, and I do have. I would be remiss not to mention Nikki Hollis, who does help me with my email now. Hopefully everyone sends up the appropriate things, but I fear what she's seen. It is I've always gotten up on the earlier side. I used to, when I lived at home, which was a couple of years ago, I guess. Home being my parents' home. I would wake up and have breakfast with my dad before he left for work. And then I just got in the bad habit of, when I needed more time, just kind of inching the alarm forward by 15 minutes. And then probably got into an area which some people think is unhealthy.
I'll just say I think the earliest I got was 3:58.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta go get the kicks in.
Yeah, I think Dave Scosen was right behind you, about like 4:45 or something.
Yeah. Scos was always pretty early too. It always shocks me when I get a reply.
That's not the out of office reply.
Right. Todd's a pretty early replier. He's like a top 5 early replier.
Sometimes I'm mad because I don't reply right away, and I'm like, I've been up. I should have replied right away. Would have made me look a little bit more impressive.
Yeah. I don't know that there's anything impressive about it, but it's when I get most of my work done, and I don't know if anyone else gets the analytics from Microsoft Office now. But we use the Office products, and I don't know when they started doing it, but it's definitely in the last few months. They send you analytics of like quiet time, focus time, but also like when you send emails in the day. So like my graph 4 to 6 a.m. is definitely the highest intensity of my emails.
That's great.
That's great. Mike, I know you had a question about interns.
Yeah, so not being an intern at GKB, I noticed that a majority of teammates came from the intern program. I think in Cleveland when I was there, it was like 99%. Like we're all interns, or at one point. So how number one, how do you like use that intern program to kind of be a feeder, and also does that make that intern program a little more intense on the decision making?
Yeah, and did you run it at some point?
I think I was watching over somebody running it.
Okay, all right.
I was in a lot of interviews.
Yeah, it's so it is a focus of ours, unfortunately, and this is to me one of the scariest parts for us. Not scariest parts. Scary is the wrong word to use, but one of the toughest parts of the pandemic from a long-term standpoint is, we're not having an internship program, this summer, and we don't know about the fall, and we cut this semester, or I guess we're out of it, but the spring semester we cut short. So that is incredibly disappointing to me. It is a focus of ours and something we really look at, because I talked about how hard it is to hire, because you don't really know somebody, right? Like you can run them through a few interviews, and we've been known to run potential teammates through a few interviews. I don't know how many Mike had to go through.
That was like 5 months worth or something.
And so we'll have to tell the story about like what you were actually interviewing for.
Yeah. I know. We should have done that during the email talk.
Yeah. It's we have 10 in a class, at least in Cleveland, and it's similar everywhere. And we have semesters, and we take it seriously. I mean, our internship coordinators, that's like a high position on our teams. We do have some challenges with it. Mike mentioned that it's we have a high percentage of our new teammates that have come out of internship programs. It used to be really high. I mean, it used to be 40% of our team, 50% of our team were former interns. As we've moved into new markets, Milwaukee and acquisition in Milwaukee and then Chicago, have really brought in a lot of new great teammates, but obviously they weren't interns. But it is somewhere we want to keep growing. We want it to still be a great feeder because it's a great time to get to know people and to start to figure out, do they have the core values?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a little bit of time left. I want to make questions here at the end. We could all get to know you and about you even a little bit more. But the question that I'm gonna steal right now that I really love. I don't always love being asked it, but and I'm gonna give the footnote here to Adam Hood, who's the president of Perfect Power Wash. But we be asking you that we haven't asked.
So that is one of my favorite questions. I'll first stall while I think of the answer and tell you.
That's one of the best parts about it.
Yeah. Well, Evan Cohn, who's our director of content, for the company, he hosts a morning show on Sirius XM, Mad Dog Radio 82 Morning Men, and then Afternoon Drive for us in West Palm. So he asked that. He was a student at University of Wisconsin when we were there in the early 2000s, and he asked that, I believe, of a softball player who he said he was having an awful interview, and she went on and had this whole discussion about this amazing struggle childhood that made this story. So tell him it's a great question that I still haven't figured out what I'm supposed to say to the answer. No, so I think it's the question that I would want to know in the Survive Tomorrow, the Thrive Tomorrow. I hope it's not just Survive. Survive Today. is, how can businesses act, thrive tomorrow. We've gotten, and I think we all have to be in all these phases that I talked about: stay healthy, stay together, survive today, and thrive tomorrow. We have to be doing it at all times. And like the stay healthy, like, all right, everyone's giving us guidelines on what to do with our offices, and like that stuff we can understand. And stay together, also pretty understandable. Surviving today is what most businesses have been trying to do, but how do you thrive tomorrow? And I think there are really three areas that most businesses have to get creative on. The first is as a whole need to figure out sanitization. I think we all have to figure out, all right, so what does it mean, right? Like, can people bring food in? We're in an office where, and all of you, hopefully have been there at some point, people bring in free food all the time, right? Like, we have a segment on a show that's called Free Food Friday that people bring in food. Like, can you just like leave food out there? We just would have food out there all the time. So every office, I think, has to consider all the kind of sanitization things that will go on, and every business has to, for their team, but also their customers. The second thing is where can we get more efficient, from an expense standpoint, and with which is tough when you want to stay together. And then the third is, how do we grow sales? Ultimately, I think we've all in the first month figured out where we could be more efficient, from an expense standpoint. I think the sanitization side is going to be an ongoing forever thing now that we're forever changed. And then the third is, all right, let's grow. Let's figure this out and grow. And where can we invest? Where can we invest in our business so that we can grow, so that our team can grow, so that our customers can have a great experience, and just so that would be the question I'd ask. I'd call me out on the Thrive Tomorrow.
Good. Well,
That was good.
you gave us the question, and I think you kind of gave us the answer too. So that was good.
Yeah. I stalled well, I thought.
It was good.
Yeah.
All right. So we have kind of some ending questions. I mean, you could call it like the 2-minute drill, but it's going to be more like 10 minutes, or you could call it, rapid fire, whatever you want to call it. But I have a few, and I think there's a couple others. First question, and you left this out of your daily routine answer earlier, but how many iced teas have you had today?
It's a great question. I would say, like, if this is so that I use these, I would say I've probably had maybe 10 or 11 of these.
That's what you need when you get up at a little bit before 4, people.
And I'm not that far from my kitchen right now. Like, it's easy.
All right. Favorite cubby of all time?
Favorite cub? Is that what you said? Oh,
yes.
Great question. So my favorite cub of all time was probably Dave Kingman for many years, who I later found out wasn't that nice of a person. So I would transition it to Warren Brewstar, who many might not remember. He was a middle reliever, but he lived on the same floor as my grandma, and so he was nice to us. So, yeah. So that was my favorite cub.
All right, favorite Chicago Bear of all time?
Peyton, Walter Payton. If you go in my when you walk down to my basement, there's a big fat head of Peyton. He did it all. He was all around player, not just a runner, and he was supposedly great in the community.
I'd say, unlike Kingman, pretty well known as a good guy, right?
Right. The more stories I hear about him, the more I liked him. And, so,
other than Michael Jordan, favorite bull of all time. Well, it's obvious. Like, who, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Let's just say your favorite bull of all time is Michael Jordan. Who's your second favorite bull?
Yeah, my favorite bull of all time is the Mayor Brad Sellers. So Mayor Sellers, who, like, I can almost see his town from here that he's the mayor of. He's mayor of Warrensville Heights. I've been lucky enough to get to know Brad. He's told me some amazing stories, and so he's by far my favorite bull of all time.
That's great. I mean, do I even ask about a Blackhawk? I mean,
Yes, it would have been Eddie Belfour, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Hell yeah.
Nice.
The question would be DePaul Blue Demons. We were big DePaul
Okay.
fans,
All right.
and so there were many great DePaul teams.
Dallas Commages.
Dallas Commages was right there. It was probably Quentin Richardson, who we happened to sit with his sister for Rochelle, who sat with us. I think did he go pro after his sophomore year? Maybe went pro after his sophomore year. But Hugh would have, for that reason, been my favorite.
Awesome. Favorite Browns, Cavs, and Indians players that you've never met?
Oh. That I've never met. That's an interesting question. So favorite Brown I've never met would be so Brian Sipe. Obviously the Browns didn't play in the Bears division. It was when, I was starting to understand football. And then we had in Madison, when I was there, we had an open office. My computer would just be sitting out there. So the folder on my desk and on my computer for Cleveland, as we were looking at buying in Cleveland, was Brian Sipe. So I still have things that are in my Brian Sipe folder.
Oh, that's great.
So that would be my favorite Brown. My favorite Indian that I never met. So I've met him, but I don't know him at all. Is Len Barker. So I remember the All-Star game, and he wouldn't know me if I walked up to him.
Yeah.
So I think that counts.
I guess I meant more that you don't really know.
Okay, good.
Would have been too easy.
Yeah. And then favorite Cav that I never met.
I didn't say other than him. I just left it over.
No, and he's probably not my favorite. The favorite Cav.
Delhi?
Huh?
Delhi?
I'll go Hot Rod.
No, that's
I love those. I love those teams, and growing up a Bulls fan, it didn't. There weren't bad memories.
Right. Yeah. Side of that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some of the best events. Some of the best ESPN Cleveland events are when you've got Len signing autographs together. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those guys are great.
One former Cav that I think is there's a bunch that are really impressive, but Brad Doherty. So Brad's just like a regular guy.
Yeah.
like
So
a 7'1" regular guy.
Right. So Keith Williams, who's a business partner of mine and was with me in Cleveland for 10 years, and we still had offices in our office at that time. And Brad was in for an event for us, and he was sitting at my desk, but I just hadn't told Keith that Brad was going to be there because he was just doing work. Like he was doing paperwork he has some businesses. So Keith walked by my office and there's like Brad Doherty sitting there and I haven't told him. So he's just like a regular guy.
That's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice. Mike, you have a question?
Yeah. So I've got some inside sources at certain golf courses that say you're almost a scratch golfer. I was wondering, number one, how often are you getting out nowadays, and also what's that handicap at?
Yeah, so good question. So I am thankfully I have a great support team here with Deborah. And so during this pandemic, I've gotten out probably once a weekend.
Oh.
My handicap, and then I've played once during the week. I think I played once during the week. My swing was totally gone as of until last Sunday, I think. But I think I'm a 10-7 index now, but I was on my way to like a 15. So long way from scratch.
It's a comeback tour. No,
Yeah.
still kick all of our asses.
Yeah, Jimmy Hanlon has been has kept me kept me in the game.
Nice.
Good question.
All right, Sam. Who's the most famous or coolest person, or at least who we would think is the coolest person in your phone?
Does BK Bernie? Would Bernie?
I mean, it's one of the ones I thought you might say if you got there.
You want to call?
I mean, I would
Yeah, you got to give him a call now.
No.
No, that era of the Browns, that crew is really awesome. Todd and I have been lucky enough to hang with Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack and Metcalf, and were you with me at the end of the Steeler game last year? Yeah. And it's just it was after they after the Myles Garrett ending, we'll call it, and to be there with the three of them talking about it was pretty surreal. And so I think those are the ones that at least two of us on this call grew up watching. I think from the sports side that would be that would be the coolest. Ellie is in my phone now, and she's pretty cool.
Super cool, yeah. That's super cool.
Very cool.
Third, so she's second, and Craig is third.
Right, exactly.
All right, so this is not just for me. I'm just kind of curious, and I don't mean just you and I just mean when you're back face to face, meeting with people and all that, and you walk into that meeting, what are you going to do to greet people other than shake hands from now on? Do you have an elaborate, like kid and play kind of foot drill going on? Like, what's going to be going on?
Yeah, it's more of like a horror for those and we kind of go around the room and like I have Hava Nagila in my phone.
I'm watching Unorthodox, so I get this.
So at the golf course, the main one has been kind of an elbow.
Yeah.
Which I think that seems to be working.
The elbow bump, I think, is pretty common.
Yeah, so I think right now it's elbow bump. What about you guys?
Namaste.
Yeah.
Namaste over here as you walk by me.
So one of the things that I think is cool finally, and the teams at the end, they line up like they're going to shake hands, but nobody moves. They all tip their caps at each other. I feel like that would be cool, and give me a reason I can wear a hat all the time, especially if I keep this. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm always open.
Bumps and elbow bumps are probably what it's going to really be.
Yeah, but I'm always open to wearing hats.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. Actually,
can we bring hat tipping back? Like,
yeah.
And then we get the top hats.
Yeah, ladies.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so we're right here toward the end. Thank you so much for being with us. Yeah. Fun, really good information for anybody who watches. I think can learn a lot about culture and give them things to think about with their own business. But the last question that I had was tell us about Time to Win, because I thought that might be an opportunity for you to let people know how they might learn more from you. But anything you want to tell us about places people can get a hold of you, or if they should or shouldn't, or about Time to Win, anything you want to kind of wrap it up with.
Yeah, talk to my people. Don't talk to me. No, I'm totally joking. You can reach out anytime. My email is spines@goodkarmabrands.com. So spines@goodkarmabrands.com. And then the quick Time to Win story. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was spending some time. We were in transition from our managers were in transition in Milwaukee. So I was doing managing the sales team in Milwaukee and Cleveland. And every Monday I started sending an email to Milwaukee when I wasn't there. That was somewhere around a metrics email and a training thought. Think about this type email. And over the years, it transitioned. At that time, it was called Pace and Pride. And it was, we wanted to make sure we had pride in our solutions and we were picking up our pace. And then it just transitioned over the years to where most of our sales and marketing teammates, or all of our sales and marketing teammates across the country, were getting it. And there had been discussion over time about me starting to post them. I'd fought it for a decent time, but this, once again, during this pandemic, we had time. There's probably, I just call it, over 100, because they come out every Monday to our team internally, and to put it on LinkedIn. And we started it 4 or 5 weeks ago, I think, and it really is, everything from sales and management and leadership training and marketing. Just transitioned over the years where I try and make them so it gives our team something to think about. And then I have some great teammates. I do name names, but Amy Crossman, Emily Dillinger, Liz Stade, and Nikki Hollis, who've helped me kind of un-GKB him a little. So all the things we were joking about earlier, we're like, wait, it says partners. Oh wait, it says with them, which means what's in it for me, and like it's all these things. So we have to un-GKB them, and say, and make them so they're more general. So that's what it is, and it's on my LinkedIn. So everyone's welcome to link into me, and it's you'll see I'm the one with the Baker Mayfield jersey on, and hopefully you'll see I'm the one with the Baker Mayfield jersey on, and hopefully after this year I don't need to change jerseys. I don't want to take a new headshot. But no, and thank you. I just want to give a quick plug to Mean Joe Advertising. Todd mentioned we met a while ago, and I think there are two types of agencies that I run into, and one that like to really are out for what their customers and their partners, and you guys call them partners, what their goals are and understanding their goals, and not just delivering a rating point. And you guys have personified that and been awesome to work with as partners. So we're big Mean Joe fans, so we look forward to continuing to partner.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much, Sam. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Mm.